Hello.
Great to meet you.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
great. So you're still based around the Boston area?
Yes, I
Yeah,
am.
okay,
Yes.
great. You came out of the Harvard ecosystem?
I did.
Yeah?
Yes, before I joined DSM, I worked for Harvard for many years.
All right, great.
hmm So
That's a fascinating thing to do.
it was great. I
Yeah.
did my graduate work while I was there too, and I really enjoyed it a lot.
All
So,
right, okay.
mhm.
Lisa, you are Senior Manager Innovation Projects
Yes.
at DSM.
hmm
Tell me a little bit about how you came to be.
Sure, sure. So I started with the company many years ago, too many to mention. And I started out working in the research labs in the Boston area at a startup company that DSM had acquired in 2010. And when I was working in the lab, we were genetically engineering yeast and bacteria to make compounds that the company was interested. So I worked on carotenoids projects for a long time. I also worked on some of our vitamin projects, looking for new routes to production through biotechnology. Uh, but then about 10 years ago, I started working on exclusively on animal nutrition and health projects centered around gut health and eubiotics. So I've worked on a number of the products that are in our portfolio, and but then had an awesome opportunity to move into precision services and to lead our VRX Precision Services project from the ground up. So that's really been an exciting endeavor for me, bringing technology, data analysis, omics technologies, new things to our customers has been really fun.
Yeah, you work at a very interesting intersection there of basically nutrition, health, and microbiome data.
hmm
Give me a little bit of context around that. How does that express itself?
Sure, sure. So the microbiome has always fascinated me, not only from a work perspective, but also a personal perspective, because um, everybody responds to foods and things differently in your diet. And we all also have different microbiome composition within our system. And it's very much influenced by what you eat, but also your environment, also your genetics. There's a lot that goes into that. Um, so in the poultry industry, um, one of the things that we really liked about doing this precision services or precision nutrition in poultry is that there's the genetics. There's two main lines in the genetics for the breed, but then also the diets are quite similar. And so we thought that if we reduce that variability there, then we could really start to better understand. Um, what's happening inside the animals when you're feeding them. And so we could look at their microbiome. We could also look at other biomarkers in their system. And it was an aha moment for me one time at a poultry meeting where a very world-renowned veterinarian for necrotic enteritis, which is poultry disease, was talking about these eubiotics portfolio of products and feed additives and saying that, sometimes, these products work, they work well, but then all of a sudden it will stop working and we don't really quite understand why it stopped working. And at the time, I was doing a lot of microbiome research for some of the other products we were developing in-house. And I just had this aha moment that, well, we have the ability now to go and sample the animals. We have all of the feed information that they are on, and we also have we have the diet information. We know their housing conditions. We know their genetics. We know their breed, and we've got computer scientists now and data scientists. So we could start to put all of this together to be able to tell our customers what's potentially happening and when they should look into using a product when and for how long, how much. And so I thought, wow, this is fantastic. We can really start to get down to understanding what's actually happening inside the animal and relate it to the environment outside, and then help our customers then pick what they should use in their diets. So for me, that's the ultimate intersection of nutrition, microbiome, and production is that with data science and also more tools to collect data, we can start to elucidate this more. So,
And one of these tools now is Verax.
mhm,
Um,
yes.
You describe it as the world's first blood-based early warning system.
Mhm.
What does that mean?
Sure. So blood is the gold standard. In human medicine, human health, one of the first things they'll do is they'll do a blood test to tell you what's wrong. In the past, people didn't do blood tests on chickens. They thought, oh, this is an expensive technology. Um, what can we really do by what can we really determine by measuring a few chickens or 100 chickens? But what we found was that is that you can measure blood biomarkers in chickens. It is really informative to do that because now, with the power of computing and with data science, and also with data scientists working together with poultry scientists, we can start to elucidate what's happening inside the bird and start to relate how the blood biomarkers are reacting to their conditions or to their feed, and then use the data science to pull that all together.
Okay.
Mhm.
And all of that data comes together in predictive models, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, what can you tell me about the predictive models that the farmers and the producers can understand to find trust in these models?
Sure. Sure. So traditionally, farmers, what they'll do is, so if we take a condition such as coccidiosis, which is impacting the lining of the gut, it's a parasite that infects the inside of the gut. It's a world-known problem in the poultry industry. There's many companies that sell vaccines for this, and there's also different types of treatments as well for coccidiosis. Um, so um, the vaccine companies typically will come in, they will do a necropsy of the bird, and by examining the inside of the gut lining, and then they will tell the farmers, yes, your birds do have this, or no, they don't have it. It's a really subjective view of looking at the animals, um, but it's the best technology that we had at the time. What we were able to do was go in with the blood biomarkers and utilizing that necropsy data as the positive cases. We were able to look for signatures in the blood biomarkers that could predict the positive case. And once we got to a high enough confidence limit with our models, you can now just go and do a blood sample, and it can predict the coccidiosis in the bird without having to open up the bird and look inside. So this was very exciting for us that we were able to build these models and show these predictions just using blood biomarkers. And the other thing that's exciting about it is that in the blood biomarker patterns, we also believe we're picking up subclinical disease as well. And that's something you can't see by the naked eye. So within Virax, we have models for two different types of coccidiosis. We also have an enteritis model for gut health, lining inflammation. And then we also have models for skeletal health, and sometimes skeletal health issues can also be related to imbalances in the microbiome.
Hmm.
So,
Talking about imbalances in the microbiome, there's a very interesting case
mhm,
you present in your presentation
mhm,
that is basically about undiagnosed, not undiagnosed, but yeah, basically undiagnosed lameness early in life
mhm,
in poultry.
mhm.
Talk me through the case a little bit and what role Varix played here.
Yeah, sure. So, at this producer that we were working with, they had a lot of farms where they were having issues with lameness in the birds as they were getting older. And they weren't sure where the lameness was coming from. And along with the lameness, they also had a higher incidence of mortality at younger age birds. So they had ruled out a number of things already, including some common viruses that might cause this, um, and um, and some issues. Thought if there were some issues with the diets, those weren't present. And so they were really at a standpoint of what could be causing this. And we were already doing a lot of Virax sampling sessions with this customer. And they said, well, how about we come in and let's look at a number of farms They're the same genetics. They're all the feeds coming from the same feed mill. Let's see if we can start to figure out what it is. So we went in, did a Virac sampling session, just looking at blood biomarkers to start. And the really interesting thing from the blood biomarkers was that in young birds that weren't displaying the phenotype yet, there was a very high levels of globulin in those birds. And with those high level of globulin, um, low level of albumin, which was also present in these birds, typically means there's an immune challenge happening. So once we identified the immune challenge in these younger birds, we could then go back, set up an additional sampling session, and really just focus on those the younger birds and birds that were maybe like a week to 2 weeks out from that age, and really try to elucidate what was happening. And so we again did blood biomarker testing, but we also brought in microbiome analysis second time around as well.
And how does that microbiome analysis complement the blood data?
Sure. So the blood data really gave us the indicator of the window of time, and it also gave us fast turnaround on the results. So the blood biomarker results, you can typically have those within 24 to 48 hours, and you know. Um, the microbiome data is another lens at which we can look at what's happening inside the animal. So by incorporating the microbiome data, it gave us more data to understand what could be potentially causing the issue.
Okay, great.
Mhm,
Um, so basically, the study showed a dysbiosis early in life,
mhm,
and pathogenic bacteria present to a certain degree, or potentially, I remember larger colonization of E. coli, potential presence
mhm.
of pathogenic strains.
Yes.
Um, at that level, what kind of probiotic or nutrient interventions could have or um, showed some promise in restoring that balance?
Sure, sure. So I think it's before we launch into that, I think it's important to also say that with this customer, we had done a lot of work with them. So we have our benchmarking database for the blood biomarkers and also our benchmarking database for their data for both blood biomarkers and microbiome. So we were able to show that the dysbiosis was specifically at this set of farms in comparison to other data that we had for them. Um, and so, with that dysbiosis and with the higher levels of E. coli, when we specifically looked at the younger birds and the comparison of the older to the younger birds, there were a couple of key features. And the key features were that there was a lack of, there wasn't as much lactobacillus bacteria present in the birds that were younger and sick. And also, they were missing some key m- pathways for menaquinone biosynthesis, which is vitamin K. And they were also having some iron transport issues. And so when we looked in to that data, uh, there's a number of different recommendations that we could then give to the producer. And but the first one is really that there's something happening at the young age of these birds where they're not establishing a healthy microbiome. And so maybe you could look into some feed additive products to help to establish that microbiome at the young age. Um, and you could do that through probiotics, or you could do that through precision glycans. There's a number of different things that we could look into doing. The other thing is production. So you have to look at the production, the management. And so, are there any issues at the hatchery? Are there temperature discrepancies where the birds are being hatched? And so those were some things that different suggestions we gave to the customer of how they could approach and look at this. The other one was the vitamin K biosynthesis, because vitamin K is also important for your bone development health there. So that would be another thing they could do, is look into vitamin K supplementation. Um, but really, they need to get to the root cause. So we were able to give them a number of suggestions of what it could potentially be, and then it's up to them to decide what to implement.
So basically, that leads to the point where we're designing precision diets.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, not precision diets, precision nutrition. So we can give them suggestions of what to put into the diet as well. But it also helps them to uncover, is there a management change that we could make here as well?
Okay.
So,
So
mhm,
all of this is based, obviously, on large amounts of data,
mhm,
as many data points as possible, as many good data points as
mhm,
possible too.
mhm.
What does AI play? What role does AI play
Yeah.
in this context?
Yeah, so this is something that's really exciting for me because when I first started doing research back when I was at Harvard, it was really at the advent of using omics technologies. Um, and also, omics technologies back then weren't readily available for people because they were so expensive. But over the years, the costs have come down quite dramatically. And also, other key factors are that we now have the computing power and the infrastructure to deal with these large amounts of data. Another thing is we have in our workforce, we have a lot more data scientists available, not only within DSM, but globally that work on these AI methodologies using computers. And then the other aspect that you really need to have is the platform to then deliver these results. So um, we had the computing power, the computer infrastructure, we were generating lots of data. We were bringing on data scientists, working with our species scientists, and now we have the platform Verax to do that. So it was really exciting going from working in data in Excel to now working in data in Python in databases and building models. And you can bring in lots of data into those models and see what's important and what's not important. And this really helps us to get at precisely what it is a producer may want to change or modulate or tweak in their process.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
mhm,
So we're kind of arriving at a very interesting point where we have seen technological advances on multiple levels, like on the
mhm,
level of the data collection, on the level of the granularity of the data collection, on the
mhm,
level of the biomarker knowledge, just
mhm,
what influences what, and also the
mhm,
granularity of these biomarkers, and then on the capability to make sense of large data sets,
mhm,
while we already now have, software as a service, basically
mhm,
the availability to transport that to producers, to feed producers, to animal producers quite
mhm,
easily and make it very user-friendly on
mhm.
that level. Where do you see that now come together? Like, what is the leap that this is going to generate?
Sure.
Mm.
So our producers were already collecting lots of data. They were collecting, you have all your feed formulations, they have their health records, they have all the production data, all of those outcomes. Frequently in the industry, when you have your veterinarian, your nutritionist, your live operations, they're each responsible for a number of really important things within their specialty field, and they collect the data within that field. This really helps to break down some of the walls between those different groups. And using data science, we can start to pull all of that data together to help the company make best decisions across the organization. So, even recently, just earlier this summer, when I was at a meeting and there was an industry nutritionist talking about utilizing Excel to organize and also to analyze the data that they were collecting from their programs. We can go so far beyond Excel today. And when I started on this project, there was only maybe a handful of people that could go beyond Excel. Now we have tons of people who can go beyond Excel and to utilize those skills. And we really see this precision services business as a core part of our business to support our customers. So we bring the essential products with the vitamins and the carotenoids. We bring the performance solutions with our eubiotics portfolio, our mycotoxin products as well. and our specialty nutrients. And now with the services, we can really help our customers pinpoint what it is they need and when they need it. And it just really gives us a lens into understanding and being a better consultant with our customers. So that's really where I see the benefit. It's really the perfect merger of advancements in science and technology with computing and AI, and then bringing that together and bringing it closer to the customer.
And how do we help the customer adopt the precision tools and services? Like, how do we make sure that the
Mhm.
market uses it on a dispersed level?
Sure.
Mm.
Um, so I think that one of the most important things is just getting out there and educating people about this and talking to them more about the importance of blood biomarkers and why they should measure them um, in their animals. And we do that by sharing examples and showing them the value of what you gain from doing this. One of the biggest misnomers that I saw in this when we were first starting out, and even within our science teams here and outside of DSM at universities and things, was that people think, oh, if I'm going to study gut health, I need to measure biomarkers X, Y, and Z. And and what we started out with Virax was a panel of biomarkers to look at. And it didn't matter what that specific biomarker was for. What mattered was that we had lots of biomarkers. Um, and so with all of those biomarkers, and then we let the computer tell us, we let the modeling tell us which biomarkers are important. And then we have our species team to then think through the translational science aspect of it. And what does this mean? And what's the message that we give to the customer on this? So, um, with that, we can really look at a lot of different issues in the industry, utilizing panels of biomarkers and try to pinpoint, you know, we, down to like 4 or 5 different things could be the challenge there.
Okay.
So.
So looking ahead, what would you like producers mainly to understand about the capacity of these tools? Like, what's the message you want to get into their minds?
Sure. Um, so it's a great tool if you want to see, like, get an overview of what's happening, especially within a complex of birds. It's a really good way to do an assessment of how is your program functioning, and and then also maybe elucidate some things that you didn't know were happening. Uh, so it's a very good tool for getting an overall view. And what I've heard frequently from some of our customers is what I like about Virax is I know there's something wrong, and there's something going on in these farms. And in the case that we talked about earlier, they knew there was something wrong. It had been over a year that was happening, but they didn't know exactly what it was. And so, it could be one of 10 different things. And what Virax can do is come in and help you narrow that list down to 4. And so that helps to save time, also helps to save money. And it's been a really exciting, fun partnership with our customers.
Incredible.
Mhm.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
So for you, what's the next step in innovation tooling and innovation precision? Sorry, what for you? What's the next step in precision tools and precision services?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next step for us in precision services. So my role is on the innovation end as project manager, and so I'm always out there looking for new innovations, new technologies. It's in my blood, and so I'm looking for ways that we can scale this process, make it easier, put it in the customer's hands so that they can do it, and then we're also just helping them to manage the data and interpret the data as well. So currently working on a couple of projects right now with some universities in Europe to scale our technology on collecting the biomarker data. And we want to expand beyond blood, even though blood is the gold standard. When we start to talk about other monogastrics or in ruminants, we want to also look beyond blood and look at saliva, look at feces. There's a number of different sample types that we can collect from the animals. And so we're also thinking about that as well. So I'm really excited to see where this line of research takes us.
Perfect. Yeah.
Mhm.
Likewise.
Thanks.
Lisa, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to where you'll take it.
Thanks a lot. Really enjoyed it.